During a tour exposing illegal activities by foreign missions, member of Knesset Ohad confronted a French consulate employee, accusing France of operating outside diplomatic norms. A diplomatic firestorm soon followed, with France demanding heightened security for its consulate in Jerusalem. Today, we have the honor of hearing from MK Tal himself to discuss what transpired that day and also to hear his proposal for the future of Judea, Samaria, and other pressing issues facing the country. Welcome, MK Tal, to Judeacation here on JNS TV.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
It's great that you're here, and you were really busy this week. I saw a video just before we started recording outside of the French consulate in Jerusalem.
Right.
Talk about what happened there. This is controversy, news all over the world.
Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be because, first of all, the story is that I led a delegation of members of the Knesset together with the minister, Ohad, who joined us to learn about what is happening at the heart of Jerusalem when the French consulate and the Turkish consulate and others are operating from the heart of Jerusalem to serve not the interests of their countries in Israel, but to serve the interest of the Palestinians. These people are not even presenting their credentials to Israel. They're doing it to Abu Mazen in Ramallah. They look at themselves as an official embassy to Palestine. They're enjoying the benefits that Israel gives them, but they're serving the Palestinians. Not only that, what they're actually doing is that they're supporting terror. One example, just to share with everybody, is this book, praising Laila Khaled, a terrorist. And as it says here, Laila Khaled, icon of Palestinian liberation. Now, this is a book that they've launched in the French consulate in Jerusalem in an event that glorified this terrorist who's responsible for the killing and trying to kidnap planes, including an El Al flight, and killing Israelis. And they're glorifying this person in an event in the consulate.
What can we do? How can we stop this?
So what we should do is, first of all, to take away all their benefits as diplomats. They're enjoying immunity. They're enjoying even free parking in Jerusalem. They're enjoying a lot of things. By the way, one of the workers of this French consulate was taken because he tried to smuggle weapons to Arabs, to Palestinians. So this is like an organization that's heavily involved with incentivizing Palestinians to commit acts of terrorism. They're supporting illegal Palestinian building in Judea and Samaria. They're basically violating all the rules and all the rules of Israel, the sovereignty of Israel, and even international law. Because according to international law, a foreign entity cannot operate in a country if they're not presenting their credentials to Israel, to the country that hosts them, and they're violating all rules, international rule, and Israeli bills, and we will not sit still and be quiet about that.
Chutzpah is a minor term, I would say, in terms of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
You told my colleague this past week, JNS did an exclusive interview with you,
right,
I believe in the Knesset,
right,
that peace in the region can only be achieved by applying Israeli sovereignty to Judea
100%.
and Samaria. Explain what this looks like in Judea, Samaria, and also talk about Gaza also in terms of the future there. Everyone's talking about the day after. How do you envision that as well?
So first of all, I want to explain to our viewers why I'm saying that applying sovereignty is the only relevant solution that will actually stabilize the Middle East. I know that for a lot of people, because we're all coming from a Western way of thinking, okay? When you have a dispute with somebody, okay, what do you do? When you're fighting with somebody, what do? You sit down, you talk, you compromise. You'll not get 100% what you want. I will not get 100% what I want, and we will find something in between, a solution, and we will continue with our lives, right? This is what usually people think, how people operate. But the problem is that we've tried it so many times. You know that already 100 years ago, when the British mandate was given to build a home for the Jewish people in this land, the mandate was supposed to contain what is modern day Israel, but also what is modern day Jordan. And that's 80% of the land.
Right.
So we basically already gave 80% of our land to the Arabs. By the way, 75% of the people in Jordan are Palestinians. So we already have a two-state solution. But that wasn't enough for them. So in Oslo, we made the same mistake again, and we accepted the principle that we will divide our land. We will give the vast majority of Judea and Samaria, our biblical homeland, we will give it to the Arabs. That wasn't enough for them. And again, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert and Ehud Barak were willing to give 99% of Judea and Samaria to the Palestinians, hoping that will achieve peace and stability and prosperity and all these things. It didn't do all these things. They rejected the idea to only get 99% of Judea and Samaria, what they call the West Bank.
Right.
In 2005, we did the same mistake again. We gave Gaza to the Palestinians. We all know we took people out of their graves and gave it to the Palestinians. So that's already the third Palestinian state. Did we get any peace out of it? Stability, prosperity? Nothing. So it has been proven beyond any doubt that every piece of land that we are giving to the Arabs brings only death and agony to everybody, because today everybody's suffering from that reality.
So why don't we learn? Why don't we learn from this?
So what we should learn
Yeah.
is that dividing our land, giving more pieces of it to the Arabs, trying to appease them doesn't work. What does work? Applying sovereignty. Israel has proven itself to be the most stabilizing factor in the region. Israel has proven itself in 77 years. You know that 20% of Israel's population today are minorities, Muslims, Arabs, Jews, Christians. You can ask each one of them if they would prefer to go and live in other countries in the Middle East. They will all tell you, no way, Israel is good for us. So if it has been proven that every piece of land that we're giving to the Arabs creates suffering, and every piece of land that we are holding brings blessing to everybody, let's apply more sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. And I'm telling you, that's the only way to really stabilize the region, which, by the way, will serve the best interests not just of Israel, of the Palestinians, of the moderate Sunni countries, and of America. Because, we all have much, much bigger problems to handle. China, together with its axis of evil, Iran, North Korea, Russia, they want to take a dominant from America. They want to take down America. And they all understand that the center of everything is the Middle East. And either they will win, or the axis of America, together with Israel and the moderate Sunni countries in the Gulf, will win. These are the only options. And the moderate Sunni countries also understand that the Muslim Brotherhood is a threat to them even before it's a threat to us. So I think applying sovereignty will help stabilize the Middle East and allow all of us to move ahead to deal with the real issues that are waiting for us.
I definitely agree with sovereignty. I talk about it all the time, but I want to stick to the Trump administration. As you mentioned,
Sure.
They're proposing this international force in Gaza. Is this a good idea? Is this realistic? I mean, they've already said that this force is not going to be fighting against Hamas. They're not going to take them on directly. What do you think about this international force?
Well, we've said on day one when Trump's plan was presented that there are good things in it and there are bad things in it. The good things, of course, that we're getting all the hostages back on the beginning. That's, of course, it's a big blessing, and thank God. I was very skeptical. I didn't believe it's actually going to happen, and it did. We must give the credit to Trump and to Prime Minister Netanyahu. It did. It brought us all the hostages back home to their families, and this is something which is, of course, naturally very good. But we also said that Hamas will never will willingly surrender its weapons. It's an illusion. And another thing which is an illusion is that other forces, other countries will send soldiers that will risk their lives in forcefully dismantling Hamas. It's not going to happen, okay? And we are seeing it, and I think now even the Trump administration and all these countries, they're coming to realize that it's not happening. It's not happening. Hamas is not willing to surrender its weapons. These countries are not willing to send their soldiers to fight with Hamas. It's not happening. The only force, realistically, that can do that is the IDF. Israel is the only force that can do that, and Israel should do that. And by the way, every day that goes by without Israel doing that is another day that Hamas is building its force, getting back its control over the population, over areas in Gaza he was driven away from, and that's not good. We should not repeat the same mistakes of the past. We should not build a wall and fool ourselves that if we'll hide the monster behind the wall, it will disappear. That we are willing to buy peace, quiet for the short term, and pay with a heavy price in the future. We should not repeat the same mistakes. We should confront that. I know that we all want to have to go back to our lives and not to engage wars, but we have to make sure that this evil, that this monster of Hamas is fully eliminated, and the only force that can actually do that is the IDF.
Let's switch gears if we can here. You just came back from a trip to the United States.
Right.
I want to talk about that a little bit. You told JNS, my colleague, this past week, you said there is a lack of understanding and an inability to distinguish between good and evil in most liberal communities today. That is a bigger threat than anything else because they are creating the problem. Now, I know you met with a diverse group in the United States. You can talk about how you were received, but talk about that quote if you can.
So that quote is from a meeting that I had with the leadership of a big Jewish organization in worldwide, but also operates in America, mostly presented by liberal communities, Jewish organizations, naturally. And they told me in that meeting that they have a hard time in the past 2 years to defend Israel.
Right.
Especially with all the pictures coming from Gaza of the destruction and so on, and the fact that they don't get the talking points from Israel, from the Israeli government, to how to explain what Israel does. And they have problems with some ministers in the government who are saying things that they can defend and so on. So what I told them, that was a day before Mamdani was elected to the mayor of New York. I told them, listen, I fully accept the fact that we should be more aware of that what we're seeing here affects you there, 100%. And we should definitely improve our messaging from Israel. But let's be honest. Your problem is not lack of talking points, or even what this minister said or that minister said. Your problem is that tomorrow morning we're going to wake up to see a communist anti-Semite mayor for New York that will be elected with your votes. Your communities, your progressive communities, are leading in voting for this man.
30%.
30%
voted for Mamdani, and he won.
Right.
Are you concerned about the fact that he's now the mayor of New York City?
So I told them, your problem is not lack of talking points. Your problem is lack of ability. It's such a confusion that, and especially your younger generation, lost the ability to differentiate between good and evil. That's the problem, because you're going to come to us. I'm telling you, I already know that. You'll come to us in a couple of months and you'll tell us, oh my God, look at what the level of anti-Semitism in America and in New York. But you're bringing it upon yourself. If I have to explain to you after October 7th why to defend Israel, who's right and who's wrong, who's the aggressor, if I have to explain all that to you, you lost your ability to differentiate between good and evil. That's the main problem of wokeism, that disconnects people from their roots, from their identities, from having the ability to differentiate between good and evil.
I want to go back to what's going on here on the ground in Israel. The biggest story that I see week after week after week, regardless of how many Christian children are kidnapped in Africa, wars going on, Ukraine, you name it, is the term settler violence.
Right.
That is top story around the world each and every week, basically. It has been for the last several weeks.
Right.
What's the reality on the ground? What's the truth about what's going on here? Explain to people, and I talk about it on my show all the time, this settler violence, as they call it.
First of all, people have to understand that violence is something that happens everywhere. We have violence in Tel Aviv. We have violence in New York, in London, in so many places. The thing is, how does the leadership of those societies look at this violence? I can tell you that we are all condemning any form and any kind and any act of violence against everybody, against Jews, against Arabs, against everybody. Unlike the Palestinians, who are not just not condemning acts of violence and acts of terror against Jews, they're actually incentivizing that. They're paying people to create more acts of terror. And actually, as many people as you'll kill as a Palestinian, you'll get more money from the Palestinian Authority. So, but and trying to bring the issue of settler violence, it's basically trying to create an equation as if Israel and the Palestinians are in a conflict, and there is no good and there's not right and wrong in this story. Well, there is good and evil. There's right and wrong in this. We condemn violence. They're supporting violence, and just the obsession of the world around Israel and around the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. That's an absurd, because do you know how many people were killed in Congo or in Sudan or in Syria in the past 2 years? You know how many millions of people were displaced in all these places? Nobody cares for that. Nobody's rallying for them in college campuses in America or in London. Nobody's doing anything. This is an obsession. This is a typical double standards anti-Semitism against the one and only Jewish state. That's it.
I want to stick on that, because not only is the obsession about settler violence, so-called, it's also about Jews in general living in Judea.
Exactly.
I mean, you have Jews who can live and thrive and build in Rome and in Paris and in any city in Canada, yet Jews in Judea, which is the most natural thing in the world, the obsession is there. And anytime you build a pergola or a kindergarten, people go crazy. Why is that, and what can we do?
So I want to go, with your permission, I don't want to speak about the political aspect of that. I want to speak about the theological, the philosophical aspect of it. Because really, when you look at the reality, you have to be amazed, because really it doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, Israel is being accused of committing genocide. I mean, really? I mean, the number of Palestinians in Gaza and in Judea and Samaria and in Israel is only growing since 1948. I mean, we're the only nation on the planet that sends food and humanitarian aid to our enemies while at war, even after the most horrific massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. We're the only nation. We're the only people on the planet to make tens of thousands of phone calls and send leaflets to people in Gaza to try and help and tell them to go to evacuate to the safe zones. We're the only people on the planet that does all these things. We are the only people on the planet to actually risk the lives of our soldiers to protect Palestinians in Gaza, because to allow them to go to the safe zone when Hamas shoots their own people. We're risking our soldiers to protect Palestinians in Gaza. So we are being accused for committing genocide. And you see this obsession of the world against Israel, against Jews. So you must ask yourself, why? Why is that so? And my answer is that I think humanity understand at the back of their mind that what happened to the Jewish people, the fact that we have returned after 2,000 years of exile against all rules of physics and of history, just as the prophets promise us that one day will happen in the Bible. They've said it. It's going to happen. That breaks everything they believe in. They wanted to believe in. It actually proves that the Bible is true. And if the Bible is true, you know what else is true? God is real. And I think a lot of people are trying to demonize Israel, because if they're creating this fake equation between Israel and these terrorists, using settler violence as a tool, then basically what they're saying, Israel doesn't really represent God. It's not really a fulfillment of a prophecy. It's a demonic forces who are to control. This is what they're actually trying to do. But I think, and I hope, and I pray, there's enough genuine people, honest people in the world who understand that the fact that the Jewish people has returned, we are returning, going back to our homeland, ancestral homeland, Judea and Samaria, our biblical ancestral homeland. This is a fulfillment of a prophecy. This is a fulfillment of God's will. And this is only will bring good and blessings to everybody, to all of humanity, because we are here not just for ourselves. We are here for the sake of God, for the sake of humanity, to bring blessings to all the world.
And unfortunately, some of our neighbors are actually trying to kill us, trying to murder us on a daily basis, Judea, Samaria, throughout Israel. Just about 10 days ago, there was a murderous terrorist attack at the Gush Etzion Junction. A 71-year-old man from Kiryat Arba. His only crime was being Jewish and waiting for a bus home. That was his only crime. And I want to talk about deterrence and what the government of Israel, we've been talking about this for so many years since the failed Oslo Accords in the early 90s. And I know that the IDF, the men and women of the IDF are out there. They thwart maybe 90%, if not more, of attacks on a daily basis. But unfortunately, some of these attacks get through. What can the government of the state of Israel do to create a true and real deterrent so that when a terrorist or a wannabe terrorist wakes up in the morning, he decides it's not worth it to go out, even though he's been indoctrinated from birth. It's not worth it for me. It's not worth it for my family for me to go out and try to murder Jews. What can be done? We've been asking this for 40 years, if not more. If you go back to 1929, 100 years we've been talking about this. But in these times, what can the government do?
First of all, learn from our mistakes. I mean, we've done all possible mistakes. Unfortunately, I'm saying it honestly. We've done all possible mistakes in the past 77 years, and especially, and also in the past 2 years, to send the message to terrorists that killing Jews and kidnapping Jews pays off. This is what we've sent. That's the message we are keep sending in the past 77 years. The fact that we are negotiating after everything that happened on October 7th, the fact that we are even negotiating with Hamas is basically giving them the ability. We are making them relevant. We are making them as if it's okay to keep them in the game. No, it's not okay. So first of all, stop negotiating with terrorist organizations. Not do that. That's number one. Number two, definitely not to send so many killers and terrorists in hostage deals. Not to do that. That's number two. Number three, again, facing reality and do the only thing that creates deterrence, and that is taking back our land. That's the only way. That's the only price that they consider as a price. The Palestinians, definitely Hamas, they don't care about how many people died in Gaza. It's a joke for them. We are counting the people died in Gaza, and they're not counting. They don't care about that. It's a joke for them. They don't care about how many buildings are falling apart in Gaza. It's a joke for them because they know that the day after, the billions of dollars from the Gulf, from the European Union, from America will flood Gaza again. Everything will be rebuilt, which will be even better and more beautiful. So for them, it's a win. The only price that they consider as a price is the price of land. And therefore, if we really want to create this deterrence, we have to take back our land. We have to as you've said, because if we want to really create a reality in which the future terrorists will say to themselves, what? It doesn't pay off. It doesn't worth it to go and kill Jews. It doesn't worth it because not only didn't promote our goals, especially the recognition of a Palestinian state that we've seen from some of these failed countries.
Right.
But not only that, it took back our ambitions to take more land from the Jews. It took us back because the Jews took land from us, and I think that's the only relevant solution.
I think that is a good idea, and I think we should be working towards that. One last question before we let you go. 2026 is an election season here in Israel. Right now, it's scheduled for, I believe, October 2026, but who knows? It could happen at any minute in this country. Only 4 governments in the history of Israel have actually survived an entire 4-year term. What does the future look like for the religious Zionist Party, and what does the future look like for MK Ohad Tal? What are your ambitions? What are your hopes, plans, dreams as we head towards elections here in Israel?
So first of all, I think the fact that we survived for 3 years, despite everything that happened here in the past 3 years, I mean the judicial reform and the war and everything that happened, disappointed many people in the opposition. They've said multiple times that we're going to have elections way before, and time and again they didn't manage to be accurate on these forecasts. So I think what will disappoint them again, I think that this government will continue, hopefully all the way until the end, and accomplish full 4 years. And I hope and I believe that, if you look at the polls, so the polls are very good, very, very bad for my party, right? Benjamin Netanyahu. But thank God, all throughout history, these polls were proven to be wrong. I mean, according to the polls, I think Prime Minister Netanyahu have never been a prime minister.
True.
Right.
True.
So I believe there's under the surface, there's a lot of people are only moving more to the right, coming to realize that we were right, and the left who only offered surrendering to terror and trying to appease them, that has failed. We don't want to repeat the same mistakes, and I think that we will see a growth in on the right conservative camp, and I believe that we will see the growth also for my party.
And you personally, I'm not going to let you off the hook.
I don't know. I've never planned to be a politician in my life, right? I mean, before I joined the Knesset, I've dedicated the last 20 years of my life for Jewish education. I believe that's the most important thing, Jewish identity. That's the core of everything. But Hashem and the good people of Israel decided that this is where I should be, and they voted for us. And here I am in the Knesset. And I hope that if they'll continue to trust what I'm trying to promote and what we're trying to promote, then I hope that they'll allow me to continue and to take leading positions in the on the next term.
Minister of Education only makes sense, no? Why not put somebody with the background, not just throw somebody, out there, somebody who has the background?
I'll be more than happy to be the Minister of Education, the Minister of Diaspora Affairs, the Minister of Foreign Affairs. There's a lot of good things that we can do in this country. Thank God, Israel is a small country with many challenges, but also many huge opportunities for a stronger and better future. And I'll be more than honored to serve my people and my country in any position that they'll decide that is appropriate.
You're a busy guy, so I really appreciate you coming on JNS TV, joining us here in the JNS Media Hub in Jerusalem. So all the best to you, and good luck in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Keep up your important work.
Thank you so much.
And this has been another edition of Judaization here on JNS TV. My name is Josh Haston, correspondent for JNS News. I want to give a shout out to the people behind the cameras here. Aaron Wogelanter, the newest member of the staff who's very busy on the board. Ryan Lifshitz. Our producers, Esther Eden, Zach Sickerman, and station manager, Yuri Svretsky. Make sure you go to JNS TV for all this amazing content. Go to jns.org for all the latest breaking news from Israel, the Middle East, and the entire Jewish world. Make sure you subscribe. You support JNS financially. We count on your donations. Hit that super like button that we have. Isn't that right, Ryan? The super like button? Yes, sir. Thanks so much. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week on Judaization.